Mr. Walton, did you make contact with aliens? Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How did they communicate with you? Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be? What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
There is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Welcome to Lighting the Light.
Broadcasting from a shack on a hill in the mossy creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void, and I'm your host, Joe Roop. It's Friday night. What a beautiful, crazy strawberry moon. And we're usually going to do this open lines thing, but we have a very special guest tonight. Candice Sanderson is back with us to talk about her new book, The Reluctant Messenger Returns. Thing is asking people like, do you believe in angels? Most people say, yeah, I do. But do you really? That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. People have these experiences in their life, sometimes when they're babies, sometimes when they're kids, sometimes when they're adults. There's scriptures that talk about angels that move unaware all around us. Where are they? That's what we're going to be discussing tonight. I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors at GetTheTea.com, AncientLifeOil.com, and Metaphorical Archaeology. But before we get going, sorry, I'm out of breath. I had to run around and change like the air conditioner and shut the door. It's lightning, storming. Thank God we got this backup battery thing here, though. Big shout out. Warm, huge, massive, loving, heartfelt shout out to Eric Markham. Eric Markham has been a part of this journey with us for some time and hasn't had the best of luck in his life, in a lot of ways, and still manages to keep going. He still manages to keep moving. And he's a big teddy bear, very intelligent man. And right now he could use everybody's love, support, and healing. And we love you, Eric, here at the station, and can't wait for you to get better. Can't wait for you to start feeling better so we can hear that deep toned voice of yours again when you call in. I love you, brother. Big shout out to everybody in the Fringe FM chat. Everybody, all the patrons. A lot to be thankful for. I know a lot of people are going through a lot right now. But if you can hold space for those that need it, do it. And everybody's got their own strengths and weaknesses. Remember that. So don't ever hold yourself higher than somebody else, whether it be spiritually, mentally, intellectually, physically, financially. Everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses, and abundance comes in many forms. Remember that. Anyways, I don't want to get on too big of a guru chant tonight, but that's what we're going to be talking about. Angels in our lives and angels that come into us. And this is her second time to be on the show. And just in case you don't know who she is, let me introduce you to her. Candice Sanderson is a psychologist who moved from Paducah, Kentucky to Naples, Florida in the 1990s. When she began to receive messages from otherworldly sources in 2013, she had a dilemma. Ignore these communications as her clinical training suggested, or follow her heart's advice to embrace them. And while debating what to do, Sanderson began to document the encounters, and before long, she had amassed over 100 pages of conversations from guides, angels, ascended masters, deceased loved ones, and star beings, many of them sharing information unknown to her, but later verified by research. And when confronted with these undeniable facts, Sanderson began to embark on this journey of the reluctant messenger. The website is CandiceSanderson.com. It is really good to have you back on here. I'm just kind of overwhelmed by all this. Thank you for coming back on the show.
Joe, it's great to be back on. It's so good to hear your voice too.
Yeah, it's good to hear your voice too. I couldn't believe, like, you messaged me. It was like, hey, I wrote a little thing about you in the book. And I was like, what? You know, and looked at it. It's like the first time anybody's ever put me in a book before. I don't know. It's just a big, thank you for saying that. I really do appreciate you mentioning me in there.
Well, you know, I really didn't have too much of a choice. When we had our last conversation, a conversation that you and I had during the break changed the course of what I was planning on doing. I was working on another book. I was working on a children's primer, like the ABCs of Spirituality. And you shared with me a very personal story during the break, which, you know, you may or may not want to share. That's you know, your story to tell. Mm-hmm. But it was something that happened, and you said, you know, I really thought that person was an angel. And when you said that, I had cold chills all over my body. And I have learned since I've opened up to spirit that cold chills, at least for me, is usually a really strong indicator that truth is being spoken with a capital T. It's like, pay attention to this. And I immediately knew that the person you were talking about with your experience was an angel. The next day, I had another little nudge about angels. The next day, it got stronger and stronger. Then finally, after a few days, I started being flooded with information from the messengers that were angels. And I realized this is why you had to tell me that story. I was meant to write a book about angels, and it was meant to be released when it was, because right in the middle of the pandemic, this is when we need assistance from our angels, and they are right here.
That's right.
So I had to write about you. You changed my life.
Oh my God, I don't know what to say to that. That's wow. That's really cool.
But you know, Joe, that is the way that spirit works. A little nudge here, a little nudge there, and all of a sudden you find that you're on a different path. And it may be subtle at first, and then before you know it, it's like, oh, you're going down this path that you really hadn't intended to.
Right, yeah.
But you were guided that way, because guidance is usually so subtle. And you really started that path for me with the angels. So I certainly do appreciate that.
Well,
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you listening to my story and what you're doing with it. I think everybody has this in them. Like, everybody's got, I mean, we get nudged all the time, but do we listen? That's the thing about it. And then when you actually start listening and you learn how to listen, and you're like, whoa, you get rid of the skepticism and you say, you know what, I'm just going to like tune into this and then just try to communicate with it and see what's going on here. A flood of information starts coming in all the time, right? And you're like, it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It starts coming in. Now, as a psychologist, I was trained to trust only what my 5 physical senses could measure. You know, if I didn't see it, hear it, taste it, feel it, smell it, it didn't exist. And then all of a sudden, 7 years ago, you know, I'm driving to work one day and a message just drops in out of nowhere. But my training as a psychologist taught me to be an impartial observer. So I just started documenting. I kept the energy flowing. I didn't stop it by being, you know, having judgment and saying, oh, what is this? This is nonsense. I just accepted it. And then after a while, I had so many pages of documentation of messages that after the messages, you know, I was able to document and verify. So I not only learned to accept the messages, but then I ended up trusting them because I knew that they were genuine and they were true.
Yeah, and I think, you know, like here recently, sometimes what I do is, like I try to practice certain things mystically, and then I realize sometimes I'm trying to control things, right? Because especially like I have this nature, like I'm fiery and emotional, and then I feel like, man, I don't know what to do. And we all feel this way, like, I don't know what to do. You feel stuck, or you feel frustrated, or you feel torn. And I swear on everything, sometimes if you just walk outside and get in nature and just, I mean, really surrender and just be like, help, please, you know. You don't have to control everything.
And it is all about the surrender, because what you're doing when you surrender is you're letting go of ego. You're letting go of judgment. What the messengers have shown me, because I get lots of beautiful visions, that when we connect to a non-physical energy source, whether it's angels or guides, it's like water going through a hose. And if that hose is crimped, you know, it stops. It's not going to go. But once you just start allowing a few things to trickle through, then before you know it, that energy is flowing. And it's a matter of just letting go. Don't have judgment. And your suggestion about getting out in nature is a beautiful one. You know, I like to get out, go barefoot, and just, you know, breathe in the air, walk on the grass, just feel so close to nature, and then just open up. Whatever messages come, just accept them. And then before long, you know, maybe you'll open up further than what you thought you could.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. And I want to say something too, because I promised I would say it to Mr. Al in the chat, and he was worried about his cat, or maybe it was a cat or something. And, you know, I'm an animal lover too, and I used to let Leo outside all the time, and he's a boy cat. He's a tomcat, so he would just disappear. And you know how tomcats are, right? They just do their thing, and then... But after about the second day, I would be like, you know, really worry about him. And then I would start having my mind would go crazy of bad things that are happening. And then when you start doing that, you have emotions about the bad things. And then the emotions trigger more thoughts. And now you're in a down spiral, you know? And
yes,
I learned then, and it was like after talking to Daniel Joseph, I was like, well, who's like the archangel of Earth, right? Like, who deals with the planet and the animals and all this stuff? Like, there's, you know, different sets of angels and stuff according to study, and just have faith and go out there and just ask, you know. And for me, it's Oriel, because I'm a Western ceremonial guy, and I would just, sometimes I would even touch a tree and be like, can you, like, bring my cat home, please, you know?
Right.
And then just, like, envision my cat coming home. Like, I would envision the sound of his, like, whine and stuff as he was running up to the house. I swear one day I did it, right? And envisioned it and was asking the angel to help. And as soon as I heard it in my ear, like his little wah whine, he come running up the driveway just like that, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's the coincidence, right? A psychologist will tell you that's a coincidence, but it's really not.
Well, no, actually, this psychologist will tell you it truly is a coincidence. Because if you look at, I remember the late Wayne Dyer talked about a coincidence as being something different than what we usually think. If you think of the word coincidence, it's the root word is coincide. So, for example, in geometry, if you have two angles or two shapes that coincide, like two triangles, it means that they are a perfect match. So a coincidence really means there's a perfect match. We usually think of it in terms of, oh, it's haphazard, it doesn't mean anything, it just happened at the same time. But really, a coincidence is a little wink, from the angels or from your guides that say you're on the right path. This is, just a little message opening up to you, telling you that you're doing what you need to be doing. So it's coinciding with your greater purpose. So in that sense, absolutely, it's a coincidence.
You know what else is cool about angels, I think, is
what's that?
Sometimes we lean on each other for things, right? And we're humans. We're humans, so we're like flawed. You ever heard when people say, well, I don't need your problems, I got my problems, and then everybody gets in that kind of energy kind of thing? Angels don't really do that. They have a job to do. That's it.
Yeah.
And they just love you, or they do their job, or whatever that job is. There's no choice in the matter for them. And it's if you need something stable, a lot of people need stability in their lives, whether it's emotionally intelligence or physical stability, or stability when they're trying to figure out what they're supposed to do with their life. You can't always rely on people sometimes, but you can with angels. I figured that out a lot,
And typically angels, they don't want to interfere with our life lessons. We're here to learn lessons. So they're not going to just hover around and take care of you all the time. Right. Normally, they need an invitation. They need you to ask, please help me with this. Right. But what's interesting, I have found lately that they are intervening even without us requesting it. And
what do you mean?
One of my theories on this is the messengers have told me that Earth is going through a transition. It's part of an evolutionary process. And as Earth goes through this transition, she brings us along with her, thank goodness. But what happens is as Mother Earth is evolving into higher vibrational frequencies, that veil between the dimensions is starting to thin out. So that allows people like me, who is just an ordinary person, to all of a sudden start connecting with angels. Wow. I see that more and more people are going to be doing this as well, too, as part of Earth's evolution. And the angels, we know they're always around us. They're going to be showing us that they're around us more frequently than they have before. They are right here. They've always been here, but we're going to feel it and we're going to know it.
Yeah, I totally see that happening. I think you're right, 100%. And don't get me wrong when I say people, or you can depend on people, but everything is choice. That's all I'm saying. And it's like,
yes,
even I know you can't beckon the angels all the time, every time, but sometimes it's, like you say, you need them sometimes,
Yeah.
But they teach you lessons too, so you don't need them later. And sometimes they work through people. Like I've got a really close friend who so I'll be like, hey, man, like when I talk to my dad, that he makes me feel this way all the time. Like, and I've been dealing with this for years, and I got a message through this person. And even today, I talked to my father. He come home and he's just like blah, grouchy, and I was like, hey, you need a hug or a kiss or something, right? And he just kind of changed his whole thing. He's like, no, I just need some help, And there's one little, and a lot of times it's like those subtle things that we don't see, that we just don't see because we got this running narrative in our head. And sometimes an angel will kind of like give you a little nudge and be like, all you got to do is this. That's it.
Yeah. And you're right. Angels work in many ways, and quite often they will work through people. And the angels worked through you, Joe, to get me to write this book.
That's so
which
crazy.
is I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? It's so interesting. Yeah. And I mean, I didn't even get it at first. I mean, it took several days of more nudges. And I finally realized, okay, I've got to put the children's book aside and write about angels. And I was first concerned. I thought, I don't have enough information. My first book, The Reluctant Messenger, had a whole chapter on angels. And it's like, well, I can't use that. Well, actually, I did put it in this new book. I put it as bonus material. But I thought, how am I going to get information? And then all of a sudden, I just started getting download upon download of information from angels. Let me talk just real briefly on how I get my messages. Sometimes they come through dictation, and they will start a paragraph and they'll tell me when to put a period. If they make a mistake, they'll say strike that. Then they'll say new paragraph, parentheses. So it is strictly like dictation. Another way I get the information is through just downloads, and it's just like a computer download. It comes all at once and it's complete. If I'm at my computer, I can sit down and type for, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and it just all comes at once. But another way I get information, and this has grown, it didn't used to be this way, but it's through visions. And they were so subtle at first, I didn't realize it till I would go back and look at old messages, and I realized the same vision was there. But with the vision, I can actually stop. I can pause it. It's like a DVR or DVD. I can stop, pause. I can zoom back so I can see more of what's happening that I didn't see initially. I can zoom in. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. Man, sometimes so can you explain to me like the vision, like you literally see them with your eyes, right? Like or is it a mind vision? Is it a dream? How does this work?
Oh gosh, it's okay. When you're talking to someone and all of a sudden you get cold chills.
Right.
And it's not because it's cold outside, but that is your body's way of registering something that is not really tangible with your physical senses. So I have learned to use my physical senses differently, and I end up having visions. Most of them are very, very experiential. If I find myself in woods, for example, I can actually feel myself walking barefoot, on moss. If I'm walking into the woods, I can smell the pine trees. At first I wanted to say it's as much as if I were actually there, but that's not true. It's actually more real than I'm there. I mean, it's more real than three-dimensional reality is. Now, the way I work with angels, I normally don't see an angel. Now, in the book, you'll see there are times that I have, but generally, they present to me. It took me a while to figure this out. They present to me in these beautiful waves of energy that are pink and green, pastel pink and green. So now I've known that, if I'm in a meditation and I see pink and green energy coming in, it's like, okay, the angels are here. But another real telltale sign is the way I feel. Normally, angels cannot come in without the flood works starting. I mean, I just start crying.
You got to open
sobbing.
Up your emotions, right? Like,
I don't have to. It's like, I don't have a choice.
It does it to you? Right.
Absolutely. I just start crying. But it is their energy. It's their energy signature. I've also found with other angels, like, for example, when I see the seraphim angel, I always see a purple mist. So there's different signals that I see with different sets of energies, depending on which angel it is. And in fact, the angels told me that I don't always ask their names on any message that I get, but the angels have told me that their names are actually their vibratory signatures. So when you call on Metatron or call on, Archangel Michael, you are literally calling them into your energy field because that is their vibrational signature. So that was pretty cool to learn.
Yeah, and I want to say something too. Like there's a lot of us out there, like including myself. I know I seem like this guy that, that's kind of hard redneckish, but I'm an emotional kind of dude. Emotional people, there's like different people that, everybody deals with emotions different, but there's some people out there that can like feel things so deep that others, I'm not saying others can't, they just get there faster, Mm-hmm. And I think those kind of people can receive these messages a lot clearer and easier sometimes, and
I think you're right.
Does that make sense? I'm not trying to compare people at all, by no means, but someone like myself or another person may say, I'm just an emotional mess, or I'm just this or that, but really you have a gift that you're not like allowing things to if you just open that up, you'll be able to feel things and do things sometimes others can't do so easily,
I agree, because I think that people that really can show emotions, those are the people that are probably living more from their heart space. When you have a problem or a challenge, it's so easy to get those hamster wheels in your brain going, just one thought after another.
Right.
But when you can learn to bring those thoughts down to your heart, and when you can start operating from your heart, then you are much more likely to connect with guidance with a capital G. And I think that people that show emotions are probably living more within their heart field than in their brains, and that it would just make sense for them to be able to connect more easily.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like I said, everybody's got certain types of gifts, and I think it's when we now shoot, we got to take a break, but I kind of want to get into your story as how you learned how to tap in a little bit more as to like how you learned how to tap into this, so others can learn to listen as well too. Maybe we can get into that and talk about what's in your new book and things like that when we come back from the break. That sounds good.
Sure. Sounds good.
We'll be right back, guys.
Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
All right, man. This is Crow 777, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
Roy,
like me old Chinas? I know it's an ad break, but before you lot shoot off and make yourself a cup of Rosie Lee or whatever else it is you're going to sling down your Gregory Peck, you need to listen to me babble. If, like me, you found your way to Light in the Void via a downloadable podcast, you might want to take a butcher's at the Fringe FM Wind and Kite. You won't Adam and Eve how many other shows there are or what they rabbit on about. Ancient history, conspiracy, the consciousness, the esoteric, the occult, metaphysics, parapolitical, ufology, technology and spirituality, to name but a few. They got featured hosts like Ryan Gable, Jeremy Scott, Alex Exum, Tim Doyle, Cortana and Gigi, Susanna Ross, the Reverend John Polk, Michael Deacon and J.D. Lewis. You might find yourself listening to the thoughts and theories of the author of The Fish you just finished reading. Or you could pick up the dog and bone, call in and tell everyone your own beliefs or experiences. So do me a favour, before you put on the Ansel or crack open a bottle of vino or roll a joint, go to the Fringe FM and see what you're missing.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
From a cave in the depths of your mind, it's Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you're interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
Hey, I'm J.M. DeBoard, and when I want to talk about dreams, I look up my man Joe Roop and his show, Lighting the Void.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. Candice Sanderson, our guest tonight. We're talking about her new book, The Return of the Reluctant Messenger, or The Reluctant Messenger Returns. The last time she was on the show, she came on and wrote The Reluctant Messenger, and wrote this new one after she came on the show, and we had to talk during the break. You know what? Before we get into too much here, I want to say too, like, I can't help but feel bad. Like, you were working on a children's book, and then I intervened. Like, I feel like you're going to finish that, right? Because I don't want to stop the children's book thing, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to finish it. But don't feel bad, because this really was preordained. You know, the angels use you to get me to start focusing on them. And like, for example, what's going on now with COVID, COVID-19 and the coronavirus, the angels have told me that this is a reset. It's a do-over for Mother Earth. That Earth is going through, as I mentioned earlier, she is going through an evolutionary process where she is changing to a higher vibrational frequency. The angels are here to help us with that. And they have told me, now, it's interesting, Joe, because I've been receiving messages for 7 years. And usually when the messages come in, they're beautiful, they're poetic. I always think, I wish I could have written that, because, they're just beautifully written. But they've been talking about Earth changing. And I always thought, that's in the future. But now.
That's for now, yeah.
It's now. I mean, I was ready to send the book off, The Reluctant Messenger Returns, to have it, have the final edits done. And as I was going through the book one more time, my mouth just dropped open when I started reading some of the messages. When I was now looking at them through the eyes of COVID-19, and they took on a totally different meaning. We know that when COVID first started, there was fear everywhere. There's a pandemic. Countries responded by issuing lockdown orders. And unless you were, an essential worker, law mandated us to go inside. But you know what? Going inside is what would save us. I'm not referring to the wisdom, from the scientists and medical community, because we certainly know sheltering in place is going to, reduce the spread of disease. But this is exactly what the angels and guides told me. They said we needed to go inside. And as we would sink into our heart space, we're like butterflies, inside their cocoon, inside their chrysalis, ready to emerge into a new horizon.
You're so right. Yeah, totally.
But this is exactly what they were telling us. They were telling me that, we know there's no roadmaps, what's going on, what do we do? But they were telling me that this is going to happen. We're going to be with you and we're going to help you. In fact, I'm going to see if I can do this without crying, because normally when I get a message from the angels, the tears flow. But
that's totally fine. You can cry on the show.
Okay, good. Well, I had a message last August. So August 14th, 2019. It had been really stormy, during the night, and about 7 a.m, everything had cleared. And I thought, I'm going to go, go walk on the beach. So I went to the beach, stepped down on the wet sand, and I looked up, Joe, and there was this beautiful rainbow over the Gulf of Mexico. And all of a sudden, I got that nudge telling me that an angel was close by, or that a messenger, but I knew it was an angel.
How long ago was it?
This was less than a year ago. It was last August.
Okay.
August 2019. And I always carry I have my phone with me, and I just switched it to my, my app that I can record, and I recorded verbatim what they said. So I'm going to just read this. Do you not see the wisdom of the rainbow? Do you not see the promise that has been given since biblical times? It is the promise of unity, the promise of oneness. The rainbow brings a different perspective to light. It calls forth the invisible to the visible realm, producing the sacred arc. The colors within are defined, yet they are still only one. They operate in unison, not as separate energies that veer in different directions, but as one, as the integration of all there is. Listen to this part. A new light is coming upon the earth plane. And it is, here we go. It is changing the world as you know it. But like the prism that brings the rainbow into view, you also need a new perspective. Think not of the discord and disharmony in the world that surrounds you, but learn to view life with a different lens. The truth lies in your path. Breathe deeply, dear ones, and bring hope and light back into your existence. Know that true magic lies at the end of the rainbow, where the past melds with the future and duality no longer exists. This is where humanity travels together for the common good, a common goal. Lift up thine eyes and see the beauty that surrounds you. Embrace this truth.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And it's talking about right now, the earth has changed the way we've known it. And the angels have told me that we have choices to make. We can either choose to huddle in the darkness of fear or in the light of introspection. You know, we have choices to make as we come out of this pandemic. What choices will we make? Will we be in alignment? Will we travel on this new horizon? Will we see unity?
Right.
Humanity is one. Brothers and sisters together across this planet. So when we look at COVID, when we look at the civil unrest that's going on, the angels have been telling us about this, and they're giving us a roadmap. Use this time to think about what we need to do to change so that we as humanity can bring together all of us as brothers and sisters. It's not us versus them. It's all of us together.
Yeah, that's true.
And, we have a real opportunity here to learn from our mistakes and to step into those higher vibrational frequencies that Earth is bringing us into. Mm-hmm. But, as I went through the book and I was reading messages, it was like, oh, my goodness, this is about COVID. This is about where we are right now as a planet. And it's in our hands. There are choices that we can make.
Well, yeah, and I want to say, too, I think sometimes we think, we turn into that little kid and it's like, life's not fair. It's not fair. These were my plans. Trust me, I've learned this so many times. So, here where I'm at, I don't know. You think you got plans, huh? That's funny. Keep pushing. Keep pushing for those and then see what happens. Maybe they line up, maybe they don't. If you're tapped into what you're supposed to be doing, then they probably will. But if you're not, I think sometimes we think, we think everything's just crumbling, oh, it's so bad, everything's crumbling. But I swear on everything, I know this sounds terrible, but when you feel I was telling you, certain people feel certain things with let's think about emotional pain, right? People want to run from that. They're like, it's, love and light and everything, but they don't want to see where that pain's coming from. But I promise you, if you lean all the way into it, you'll see where it's coming from. And you'll see that sometimes that you're being called to do something that's not what you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Do you know what I mean? And it's like,
absolutely.
I see now, right? I get it. But if you don't lean into that and you run from it because, it's uncomfortable or whatever, some people, and I totally get that, but there's other people that can just bask in it, lean into it, and it'll help you see where you need to go,
You can certainly run from it, but it's going to keep chasing you.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
And that's what our heart is all about. There's an emotional guidance system that lives right there in our heart. And if you are feeling, anger or hurt or whatever, there's a reason for that. So as you say, lean into it. And maybe you have to just, embrace it for a day and just feel miserable. Then go beyond it. Step into it. Find out, what's the lesson for this? What do I need to learn? And, you may think that the path that you thought you were on has now been, it's changed.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? We don't always have that, the opportunity to have a different perspective. The messengers, and I wrote about this in my first book, gave me a vision once about I saw these people in a car, and they're driving on a mountainside. It's dark, and they're on their way, I think, to a wedding or something like that. And the car slides off in the ditch, and they all get out, and it's, they're blah, 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 I can't make it, we're going to be late, we can't make it, and, our day's ruined. Well, the larger perspective was, just around the corner, the storm had washed out a bridge, and it had also removed the sign from the road that said bridge gone. So what they perceived of as something that was terrible because they were going to miss the wedding was actually a lifesaver. The same thing happens for us. We may be angry that something didn't work out the way we thought it should, but maybe it's actually a shortcut to get to that same destination, or perhaps a better destination that we would have never gone to. But it's a matter of trusting.
Right? Like what is the riots? Where everybody's mad, and just we all have a right to be angry, right?
Yes.
We have a right to be mad, but how we act on that is a whole nother thing. But why can't we just all just kind of really lean into it and say, okay, we need to change this as a whole, as a society, instead of getting mad at the system? Let's change the system. We have the power to do that.
Yes, we do. Yes,
absolutely do. Yeah.
And this is what the angels are, they're telling me is there are choices that we need to make, and we're the only ones who can make it. So as we are transforming now, we can build a new world as the way we want to see it. Do we want to have, anger and discord, or do we want to have harmony? One of the overarching themes in both books, the angels keep telling me is unity. We are all one. And what we do to someone else, we're doing to ourselves as well, too. Literally. We're hurting ourselves. If we can see us as one, humanity as one big unit, one big family. The Bible talks about the golden rule, do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. If we could really live by that, what a wonderful world we could make. And, we're going to.
Yeah. And then don't beat yourself up for years and years if you make a mistake. Here's another thing too. I think is big is forgiveness and self-forgiveness. That's something I've had to learn here, where I'm at. There's certain things that I've tried to walk away from in my life. And I can talk to you about this, over the years where things happen that just don't make sense. Maybe it don't even seem right. And the more I try to walk away, the more it pulls me back. Right. And then it's what is going on? And, I may make a bad decision here or there. I may say something that hurts somebody, or I may do something that's not right. You know what I mean? But it's okay to feel guilt. It's okay to feel shame. It's okay to feel those things, because that's a direct cause and effect of when you do something that, it's not aligned with who you are, right? But to sit there and bask in it and not forgive yourself or forgive somebody else forgiveness is key. That was the Christ thing, right? Don't sit there in that. I don't know. It's hard to explain, because I grew up in a family where that's all it was. It's guilt. They try to make you think about the bad things you did when you were 10 years old. They just keep, my uncles would just guilt each other about the 50-year-old men, right? They're guilting each other about stuff they did when they were 10 years old. And it's man, come on, we got to move past this. You have to dissolve to put everything back together. So let's move past this and go on. And so I don't like running from feelings, because I believe your feelings are your truth, but to bask in bad things is I think it's bad. It causes riots and just bad things,
Right. And if you are always in a negative set, you're bringing law of attraction, more of that, into your field as well, too. There's a couple things I want to talk about here. You bring up some really good points. One is forgiveness. Forgiveness is so key. Someone may have done something to you, or at least that's your perception.
Right.
And it was very hurtful, very painful, or, made you angry. but you need to forgive them. Now, forgiving someone doesn't mean that you excuse what they did to you.
Exactly.
But you're forgiving the other person, not to get them off the hook, but to let you be able to move on. So that's why forgiveness is so important. Forgive the other people so that you aren't stuck in that quagmire of guilt, of anger, or whatever. Now, let me step into my role as a psychologist. Way back, in caveman days, if you were out and you were hunting and you ran into a saber-toothed tiger, you had that fight or flight. If you didn't fight or flight, you were going to be lunch meat for that saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What happens with your body, and our brains are the same way now, there is a rush of cortisol, a rush of these hormones that go through your body that enable you to, fight or flight. But that entire rush goes through your body and is totally out of your system in 90 seconds. Okay? So what that means is if you're still hanging on to the feeling, the anger, the guilt, the whatever, 90 seconds after it happened, then that's a choice that you've made. Exactly. When I learned that, I realized how powerful that was. Anything more than after 90 seconds is your choice. Now, your brain doesn't know the difference. Once you start reliving what your brother or uncle said to you 20 years ago, you end up getting that same rush of chemicals throughout your system, and it's not good for you. But it has become a choice after 90 seconds.
That's amazing. Look, I took psychology in college, but I don't remember that. So that must have been like higher level psychology, but that's crazy. But that's true, right? Cause now you've let that feeling affect you, right? You've let it cause an emotion and you don't understand what's happening. This is all about self-control, right?
Yes.
This is all about self-control. And what do they call it? Emotional intelligence, and sometimes people have told me that, you're not, you say that I'm an emotional, yeah, of course I'm an emotional guy, but I do it when it's time to do it, not just all over the place all the time. And
right.
I'm not saying that that's bad but I just think you need to, like you're talking, I think you need to feel it and figure out what it is and then lean into it and let it go. You know who taught me that actually? My producer, Pacho. My producer, the guy that emailed you. I talk to him on the side sometimes, and he's been through some tough stuff in his life. And I would tell him, like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. Like, this is crazy. I'm not dealing with this anymore. And he was going through some of the same stuff I did. And I said, what do you do? And he goes, I don't know, man. I just lean into it. Like, that's what he told me. He said, I lean into it, and then I kind of walk away and think about it for a minute.
Well, I mean, think of something literally, like if you want to get from point A to point B and you've got an obstacle in the way. Let's say you have a bonfire, not a real big one, a little one, but the closer you get to the fire, the hotter it gets, and you don't want to get burned. But you know what? If you just walk straight through it, then before you know it, you're past it, you're through it, you're on the other side. Negative emotions are like that too. When you have a situation where it's not comfortable for you, you can always retreat. But like I said, those same situations are just going to chase you until you deal with it. So lean into it, get a little burned, but then you're through it. You go through it and you start healing.
How can we, but in those situations, let me ask you, since everybody's going through a lot of changes in their life, everybody's dealing with karmic cycles they're about to break. There's all kinds of stuff going on right now. How can we learn what you've taught, like with the angels, to help us with this? What can we first, is there some first things that we can do? Like I was saying, ask for help. Like, what do you do?
Well, first of all, help is going to be easier to to obtain because Earth is going through this transition. So you are going to be able to connect with your angels. Well, you've always been able to, but you will start being able to recognize their presence more than what you have before. So what I do is what you mentioned earlier, Joe, about just being in a state of, you know, you're not going to resist. You're going to just ask for help and center yourself in your heart space. You know, get out of your brain. Just listen to what your heart says. Open up for a question or a situation and ask for an answer and see what comes to you. Another thing is pay attention to your dreams. When we dream, our egos are out of the way. So our judgment is gone. I mean, you know how it is in a dream. You can walk through a wall and you think nothing of it. Like, oh, that's cool. I just walked through this window or this wall. You don't stop and say, I can't do that. You just go with it. Well, when our egos and our judgments are all out of the way, we're open to get more messages. So pay attention to your dreams. If you can't connect or can't feel a connection to the angels, ask for whatever you're looking for. You know, if you want advice on something, ask for it right before you go to sleep. Have a piece of paper and a pen, you know, next to your bedside. And as soon as you wake up, jot down whatever it was that you received. It may be a word or two, it might be a picture, but the more you start doing that, you start developing like an energetic pathway to the angels, and they'll be much more likely to respond. You know, if you meditate, even if you don't meditate, find a quiet place. Maybe it's out in nature, maybe it's in your bedroom with the doors closed, and just ask for some help, ask for some guidance, and just see what comes. And be like a kid. You know, I mean, I have two grandchildren. One, Lorelei, just turned 8 this week, and Shalane just turned 4. I love playing with them, you know, because they are riding unicorns, they're going here, they're going there, and I just play with them, and it's wonderful. This is how we like, you know, act like you're a child. Use your imagination. Don't let your judgment get in the way, and just accept whatever information comes to you. You might have, you know, you might end up having, you know, a vision about a dragon. Great. Jump on the dragon and see where it takes you. Don't judge. You know, don't judge. Just accept what you get, and then more, and then be thankful for what you received, and more will come. But it's a matter of being open, you know, like that water flowing through a garden hose. You just want to make sure you can get the energy flowing in the right direction, because as soon as you start doubting it or judging it, it's going to crimp that water hose.
Well, you know, we've been working on the website, on the new station website, so I've been on like this new schedule and stuff. So I take a nap sometimes before the show, depending on how tired I am. And even today, it's like a full moon. So I like to do certain meditations and rituals during the full moon. And I was having a dream. It's crazy you say that, because I was having a dream I was on the lake, like Lake Ouachita out here in Hot Springs. And it's a calm lake. But I'm at the front of this boat, and there's waves just everywhere. And I got one of those just wooden paddles like you would do if you're on a river kayaking, trying to steer it. And you can't steer from the front, not very easily, unless you're trying to make sharp turns. I have one paddle on the front, and nobody's in the back like paddling. And I'm trying to like steer this thing and like push it to this island. And these waves just keep bam, bam, hitting the boat. And I'm thinking, what in the world? Why is there waves on the lake? And I turn around, and it's like a raft like full of people. And I'm looking at this. I felt so frustrated, you know. And I woke up, and I was like, okay, a strawberry moon, you know, it's like Friday, it's Venus time. It's time to like get involved with this thing, right? And, you know, like I do invoke certain angels so I can talk to them and feel them, things like that during those times. But I went outside to look at the moon, and there's this massive thunderhead like coming over and I'm like, what in the world is going on? Like lightning and thunder. And I look on my phone, like Arkansas radar or whatever. Right. And there's only one like massive storm cloud over my county, and it's just knocking the power out left and right. And I'm thinking, what? All right. So you want to do this. And so I'm like, let's lean into this thing. Right. And that's what I did. And, I don't have to get too deep into it, but you see, like, so if that was to happen to you, what would you say you were being told, or how would you take that or communicate that, or how would you interpret that?
It's you can get online or get these books that are going to tell you how to interpret different things, but most of that doesn't mean anything because it's your own filter. Like, for example, my sister used to have pet snakes. If I have a dream about a snake, it's not going to be I'm not going to wake up in a good mood. It's going to be a little scary for me. But for her, it might be something that's really pleasant. So it's very individual. But let's just take some of the elements of it. You're on water. Water typically means emotion.
Right.
Okay? You're at the head of the boat, but typically you steer a boat from the rear.
That's right. Yep.
Okay. So what do you think that means? What does that mean to you?
I don't know, man. To me, it's like, maybe I'm trying to force things and it's causing emotional I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. But like, maybe I need to move to the back of the boat. I guess that's a good question.
Yeah, maybe you want to steer the boat, but you're not in the right position right now.
Yeah, and it felt like I was dragging it. I honestly felt like I was just barely dragging this boat, and everybody behind me is like holding on to this raft, just freaking out. Looking at me to like pull it. You can't pull it through on the front like that. You've paddled in boats,
Right. And what do you think the island meant?
I think the island meant the destination. Like, okay. Whatever that is, I don't know. But I wanted everybody to get there. Yeah, maybe I'm taking on too much emotionally.
That sounds...
sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. You're in this emotional thing. You're, all these big waves. You're trying to steer toward your destination, but you're not really in the right place to steer. And you know that. But there's other people that are relying on you. So, but you know what? When you go to bed tonight or tomorrow or whenever you go to sleep, ask for clarification. Ask for more guidance from that. What does that mean? And then, I keep a dream journal, and I've kept one for years. It's like, I don't want to tell you how many pages. It's just, it's insane how many pages long it is. But sometimes the messengers have told me to go back and review a dream that was maybe 10 or 15 years before. And because I always type them up, I just, do a search and I can find them. And I'll get a different interpretation on a dream that, a dream that meant something 15 years ago means something totally different now. So it's, that's another way to really, really help connect with your angels and guides is just start that dream journal. Write down everything that you have, any feeling, any thought. And the more you do that, the more you're going to get, you'll get more messages from them. And then start looking at patterns. But once you start connecting there, that is going to help lay the foundation for connecting in real time, during your waking state. But, another thing is just, to me, when I connect with guidance, it's usually very subtle. Unless it's a direct message from an angel, and then I'm crying, so I know it's from them. But,
yeah, right.
It's like, no, everybody knows that.
Oh, man.
Candy's crying, so here she goes.
Speaking of which, I've got to take a break. You can cry with me during the break if you want.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Top of the hour here. Stay with us.
listening to The Fringe FM.
Hey, this is country music singer and void walker Jason Benoit, and when I need my fix on the world of magic and the capabilities of the human consciousness, I listen to Joe Roop right here on Lighting the Void Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Roop on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Roop.
Hey, this is V, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root on the show, and heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a New York gal. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Roop.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to The Fringe FM.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
We all have that story to tell in our lives. The winds were howling. The ground shook. You could hear rushing water. And then, history repeats itself. When there's no power, refrigeration fails. Stores with their shelves stripped bare. ATMs can't operate. Deliveries stop. Then what? These events can last days or weeks. You need a plan. In statements made during recent interviews, FEMA Administrator Brock Long has repeatedly urged all Americans to understand 3 truths. FEMA is broke. The system is broken. If this is the new normal, Americans can't rely on federal cavalry when disaster strikes. Don't get caught out in the elements empty-handed. Prepare with us by going to preparewiththefringe.com and get your 2-week food supply. 92 servings, 8 food varieties with 25-year shelf life. Normally $137, now only $75. Or get a month's supply, normally $247, now only $147, shipped in 1 business day. Just go to preparewiththefringe.com or call 888-440-7931. That's 888-440-7931. Get this great offer and be prepared while it lasts.
Hey, Fringe listeners, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, asking you to join us live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM. Visit beyondthestrange.com for links to chat, social media, and schedules of the show. And remember, always stay strange. Hasta.
Somewhere between abnormal and paranormal, there's a show called Into the Paranormal. I'm Jeremy Scott. Hear me live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern on the Fringe FM.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
All right, the phone lines are open. 1-800-588-0335. If you want to speak to our guest tonight, Candice Sanderson, who's author of The Reluctant Messenger and The Reluctant Messenger Returns. I woke up this morning and I just want to give a big thank you to Jason Benoit, the country singer. He's one of my favorite country music singers out there. And he sent me a promo, told me to listen to the show, and he appreciated it. And he sent me this. Did y'all hear it? Did y'all catch that? It's really cool, right? Listen.
Hey, this is country music singer and void walker Jason Benoit, and when I need my fix on the world of magic and the capabilities of the human consciousness, I listen to Joe Roop right here on Lighting the Void Radio.
I got to tell you, being a country boy, that feels good. That really does, Candy. That's got to be a message from the angels, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. And this guy, like, I got into his music. In fact, he's a deep dude. He's a Scorpio. He writes really good love songs. And, you know, I don't know if everybody's into country music, but I like a little bit of it. So, anyways, yeah, if you guys want to, like, if you have a story about maybe something that happened to you that you're not sure is an angel, or perhaps you have a story to share, you can call in and talk to our guest tonight. But I wanted to ask you about, you said earlier something about the angels' names. Now, you know how before we get into names, you know how people talk about like triple numbers? When you see like 22233, is that real? Do you believe that?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I mentioned that in my first book, The Reluctant Messenger.
That's right.
And they even talked to me about, you know, that's one way that they can communicate with us is through any kind of electronic means. If you're in your house and all of a sudden light bulbs start blinking off and on, then that might be an indicator that a spirit guide or an angel is close by. You know, there have been stories about toys that all of a sudden start turning on, you know, in kids' rooms for no reason at all. And then when they investigate, the toys didn't even have batteries in them. But that is one way that they can reach us, is through electricity. So you can turn on the radio and have that special song that is, you know, that is played just for you, that has a lot of significance. Numbers on license plates, numbers on clocks, on billboards. Absolutely, I believe that's it's not that I believe it. You know, they've told me that is one way they can connect with us.
Yeah, and I've been seeing a lot of those lately. I remember reading that in your book. So asking that was kind of a rhetorical question. You caught me. So, but it's one of those things where a lot of people, we do tell ourselves, honestly, oh, that's just new age stuff. I mean, you're always randomly going to look at a clock and sometimes it's going to say that. But what I would really, really try to get people to see is when that happens, like, what did you ask? What's on your mind when that happens? What are you feeling?
Exactly. You know, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about, a coincidence. When all of a sudden you see these numbers that flash, take a snapshot. Where are you? what are you doing? What were you thinking? What are the messengers trying to highlight for you? Because there's a reason why those numbers came to you at a certain time. Is it where you were driving? Is it a certain place? Is it the thought that you were having? But use that as a way to help you understand and connect more with the angels, because they're certainly giving you a message.
Yeah, it happens. And sometimes you can even, I've done this too, like I've asked a question and then do what's called like radiomancy. If you want to do get a little mystical with it, right? Turn the radio on, think of a number that represents, like get into numerology. So if it's about love, hit a number about love. Go bang, bang, just change the radio station that many times. I did this the other day, and a song came on, and I looked at the clock, and it was like 555, and this song come on. And it was it's kind of personal. But I don't want it, but you know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. And then you're right, like what was I doing at the time? What was the surroundings? What was the weather like? All that stuff matters, doesn't it?
Yeah. But what I really, like is when you set these little experiments up for yourself and you ask. I can remember once I was asking for some signs from someone who had passed away, and I just really, really needed to, it's from my husband, so I really needed to hear from him. So I had like 5 songs in a row that came up, and I just was in tears. But then the last one was kind of a joke that I had with him, and it made me laugh. But it's kind of like when I first started, communicating with the angels, I would get these messages, and it was like, oh, what does that mean? I always wrote them down, and then later I would start to investigate and do research on them. And so much of the information they gave me was true. So after a while, I learned to absolutely trust what information that I received. So I have years of collecting data, and the data made me, change me from a skeptic to a believer. But if you're first starting off, it's natural to question, and it's natural to say, oh, I'm making this up. But you know what? Write it down anyway, document it. And the more you start collecting data, some of it you'll be able to verify. But even if you can't verify it right off the bat, what you're doing is you're laying that foundation to that energy foundation to that guide or that angel, and it's strengthening, and it's going to make it easier for them to connect with you. So, like I said before, be like a kid. Pretend that you're making it up. Just receive it. Don't judge it. Write it down, and before long, you'll see more and more will start to flow into your awareness.
I mean, it is, all of this stuff does kind of like, and I know people are going to be like, oh, it's religion, but I don't think it's religion. I think angels go way back. I mean, way back to the dawn of humanity and more, right? And I think, the whole Christ message tells us that stuff all the time. Like, this is the way you need to be. Like, remove the judge and jury from your head, Right. Like, just remove it. Just try that. Because what happens is when you become judge and jury, all kinds of bad things start happening. And that's the past we've been in, judge and jury. And if you don't notice it, that the media and all of the stuff we can't blame the news people, the media, the government. We got to stop doing that. Because all they're doing is like feeding off of what we give them. That's it. They're like, if we show them that we're not polar, that we don't need them, that we can do certain things on our own, and that we love everybody, that kind of thing, they have no choice but to like come our way, not the other way around. Right. That's the way it works, I think.
And yeah, I agree with you. And, I always think now in terms of the law of attraction also. If you can stay in a higher vibrational frequency, which would mean thinking of love and gratitude, then your whole life's going to your day's going to run smoother. You know how you can get up and people will say, oh, I got up on the wrong side of the bed and everything's wrong.
I do that sometimes. Sorry.
And I used to, but again, it's that 90-second rule. So maybe you tripped when you got out of the bed. Well, so what? 90 seconds later, it doesn't matter. Get into a higher vibrational frequency. Don't watch the news all the time. The news will only bring you down. Spend time in nature, spend time in doing something that will bring you joy and happiness.
Yeah.
And the happier you feel, you're going to bring more of that into your life as well, too. And the higher vibrational frequencies that you're in, the easier it is to connect to your angels and guides.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. The 90-second thing. I can't tell you, I literally did that today, rolled out of bed and just kind of started mumbling. And I don't think we understand our own power with our words, right? So it's probably a good idea. Like if you feel frustrated when you roll out of bed, to that 90-second thing, that's really cool. I didn't know that. I'm going to take that into consideration, actually. Give myself 90 seconds and then decide not to stay in that, like make that choice,
Right, because you're making the choice either way. Because after 90 seconds, it's gone. Physiologically, all of those hormones have already rushed through. I mean, the saber-toothed tiger would have either eaten you or you had gotten away, So it is a choice afterwards. But to me, when I learned that 90-second rule, that was so powerful because it's like, okay, I can make a choice. And I'm not going to stay in that frequency.
You know what happens though? What I've noticed, like, this is what I don't want to happen. And I would love some help from the angels or what your thoughts are on this is, I think a lot of us, when we start doing this, we see that our circle gets smaller. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Our circle gets smaller and we don't want our circle to get smaller. A lot of times there are people we love dearly that we don't want to lose them. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, how do I deal with this kind of thing? That's a big thing. I think I'm trying to learn myself. If we're all human, we're all unity and all this other stuff, how do we deal with this? Especially in our own circles of friends and family, things like that, people that we don't really want to be out of our circle, but they're kind of like, they're hurting us, so to speak, no matter what we try.
Well, sometimes, as you change your energy frequencies, then, each of us, we have a light, a divine spark, whatever you want to call it, but we have our own little energy indicators. And when we change our frequencies for the positive or for the negative, either way, we're going to be attracting people of like frequencies. So if you start spending more time in gratitude and love and being thankful, you will find that some of your friends and acquaintances that don't really resonate with that are going to kind of drop away. So your circle is going to be smaller. Your circle of friends will be smaller, but you are a beacon and you will start finding others that will come in and fill that void.
Yeah, like the saddest story when my grandma Ann died, who was my mother's grandmother, and she has my mother's mother, sorry. She has a lot of my grandmother, and not having a mom, I kind of leaned on her sometimes for the mother role, and I remember like going in there, sitting beside her bed, and she wasn't doing too good, and she just kept wondering where her sons were. Now, granted, I know they love her and she loves them. There's no doubt about it. But it was like heartbreaking to watch. Not only that, I was holding her hand. I'm like, well, I'm here. Your grandson, I'm here. And it was almost like I was kind of being selfish because I felt like I wasn't enough because I wasn't her son. But this is what I mean by your circle. These were her children. Right? And
right.
Sometimes, you know what she said to me? She looked at me and she said, let me tell you something. There's nobody in the world that will break your heart like your own child. And I was like, oh my God, right? Like I couldn't even swallow, like trying to think about that. And I was like, but I am your child. And this is what I think, like that Christ story when he was leaving to do his own thing, you know, and they said, what did they say to him? They said, your mother and father are calling you or something like that. And he started pointing at everybody in the crowd. He said, behold, my mother, my brother, my sister, my father. Like we're all family kind of thing.
And, you know, that's the message I've been getting for years from the messengers, from the angels, from the guides is unity. We are all one. We see ourselves as separate, but we are like, one example they gave me was like an ocean wave that's breaking out in the middle of the ocean. As the wave is cresting, we are like a drop of spray. We perceive of ourselves as being separate, but within a couple seconds, that drop is back, you know, within the ocean. And as we are on Earth and in this incarnation in our, you know, physical human bodies, we think of ourselves as being different, as being separate, as having our own little life. But actually, we're only one little part of this entire divine universe, and we are all one. You know, there's that saying about, you know, if a butterfly flaps his wing over here, then we feel it, you know, on the other side of the world. That is really true. We are all one. And as we hopefully evolve and we can start living in unity, we won't feel the separation anymore. You know, that must have been so heartbreaking to hear your grandmother say that about, you know, about her sons.
Yeah, and it was a perception thing. They all came and visited her.
Right.
Late at night, you know, night after night. It was more of one of those things where I think she wanted to feel that they were just there all the time, you know?
Right.
And all I could do, like, I just wanted to, I don't know, man. I just wanted to just not leave her side, you know?
Oh, I know. I can imagine.
And I've been put, there's some people out there like me. I've talked to certain people where you'll find yourself beside somebody that doesn't see you. You don't feel appreciated, but you are. You just don't know it yet. You just don't know it yet. Yeah. You don't have to be appreciated to love somebody. You know, does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. And, you know, we find out about all of these things when we finally shed our physical bodies and we go to the next dimension, because we have a life review. And during our life review, we go through all of the different memories that we had here on the earth plane. And we not only see those memories from our perspective, but we see them from the perspective of the other people that we were involved with. And it's not negative. You know, we might just have some little act of kindness that we do for a stranger.
Right.
You know, you're at the grocery store and someone's $2 shy and you give them $2. You'll see that, and you'll see how that one little act changed their perspective. But all of these things will make more sense when we become part of the non-physical, when we drop our physical forms. That's when we'll really see the unity that we are.
You know, that makes so much sense. Because Michael Newton wrote this book, I'm sure you might be aware of it, Journey of Souls, where he had all these clients that he would take in between lives, right? And these people would go through these life reviews with like their guides or whatever, and their guides are always wearing these symbols and stuff. And it could be the brain's interpretation of a spiritual thing we don't understand. But what I can tell you is, and after reading that book, is say like some guy was like a championship boxer and he really did well for himself and he made himself feel good. And they would be like, yeah, that's great, but do you remember the time that you were sitting on the park bench and the guy asked you for $3? They would go through those little things. Why didn't you give him the money? Or you thought about it, but you didn't. Why? And they were just curious as to why you didn't. Not even judging. They just wanted to know why you didn't, kind of thing.
Well, I had this dream back in, I think it was 2002, and it's in the chapter called Life Force Weavers. And the messengers had me actually go back and find that dream entry. But in this dream, I was shown heaven. And they, whoever they was, would be said, this is how it works. When you die, you have a life review. And the life review serves two purposes. One is philosophical. So you learn, what you did that was good, what you could have done a little differently. You're surprised at what little things you did that actually help people. So, you're learning lessons. But one important reason for the life review is strictly physics, that in order to, and according to the dream, walk into the infinite light of God, you had to shed the dense energies from Earth. And the way that you did this, you released these orbs of energy that were your memories. And as they floated away from your body, you got to see them. Those were your memories, and that was the life review. But I have another really like a cool thing that happened during that chapter that was a huge validation that you'll just have to wait till you get to it to read it. But it's to me was something really fascinating about the life review. And it's one of those things, I had several messages, and then to have it validated by this research was one of those.
It just helps you see the truth in it more, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like I couldn't have made it up. It's like you can't make this stuff up, the stuff that happened. It was so cool.
That is cool. And we're on our last break of the night, you guys. So when we come back, we'll have a few more minutes with Candy so you can get your questions in. Share your story. Have you had an encounter with an angel or a message that you'd like to share? 1-800-588-0335. We'll be right back.
In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
Listen, I want to tell you about G.I. Joy from GetTheT.com. It's the best alchemical concoction of goodies for your stomach and digestive system I can recommend, and that's all based on my experience. Packed with colostrum, acidophilus, aloe, peppermint, and turmeric. If you do your own research, then you know this is the bee's knees for the stomach and digestion. Now, due to Big Brother's ears and the eye in the sky, I can't go into the details about what it helped me with. All I can say is I got relief. It's non-GMO, no fillers, no preservatives, manufactured right here in the US of A, and delivered to you by the only people who stay on top of the game and are out in front. Go grab a bottle of G.I. Joy at GetTheT.com and see what all the fuss is about. Again, that's GetTheT.com.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Fringe FM. See you then.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a void walker.
Hey, Joe Roop. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a void walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a void walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, a.k.a. Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
Ever seen an extraterrestrial? It can be hard to believe they exist unless you've seen one for yourself. What if I told you I've seen them my whole life, but have never had a witness who shared the encounter with me? Now, what if I told you I saw 4 of them, 2 with blue skin, and there are over 20 witnesses to this CE5 event? My new book, The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, documents actual accounts from real witnesses, many of which have gone on record to attest to this otherworldly reality. Be a part of the quantum paradigm shift that is taking place right now. Go to johnpolkmedia.com to get your copy of The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, on sale right now at johnpolkmedia.com. That's JOHNPOLK media.com.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. If you enjoy the show, if you want to keep supporting it, you can go to lightingthevoid.com, donate, grab something from the shop, become a patron so you can get access to all the exclusive content, behind the scenes podcasts, video casts about astral travel, the Outside the Shack podcast, Ask Me Anything stuff. If you enjoy the station and you want to keep the station moving and watch it grow and help it grow, you can also go to thefringe.fm, to the new website, and click on any one of the donate features there, and there's different levels you can donate to. Our guest tonight is Candice Sanderson. Oh, by the way, too, sign up to be an outsider. Very important. The Outsider newsletter, this is where you're going to get like the bee's knees of exclusive stuff, exclusive apps, stuff about certain magic things, mysticism, really specific stuff that's going to help you. So make sure you sign up to that too. Candice Sanderson, our guest tonight, author of The Reluctant Messenger and the Reluctant Messenger Returns. Man, I knew it was going to be this great talking to you tonight about these things. But I get what you're saying, like something, this COVID thing. We all had plans, right? You probably had plans before the COVID thing hit, right? I'm sure you did.
Oh, yes. I had 2 trips planned to Monroe Institute in Virginia.
Oh, man.
And they're now doing online courses, which is great. But, that's where that's actually where everything started. Yeah. Now, what's interesting about The Reluctant Messenger Returns is only after I had published the first book did I accidentally find the backstory and how everything happened and why everything happened. I had a paralyzed vocal cord. In November of 2012, I had a thyroidectomy, and they accidentally paralyzed my vocal cord, and I could only whisper. I could only whisper. I had to wear a microphone and carry a voice box around, and as a psychologist, I have to have my voice, Joe. If I don't have my voice, I'm up the creek without a paddle.
Yeah.
So I went to a doctor, and he actually scoped my throat, an ENT, and he said, "Oh, your vocal cord is paralyzed." Well, I knew it. It had been 3 months, and I couldn't talk. Not only I couldn't talk, I couldn't even swallow liquids without choking. I can't tell you how many times at night, during the day, I could control my what I could drink, like just a little drop, 1 or 2 drops at a time.
That sounds awful, Candy. Gosh.
Oh my gosh, Joe, at night when, you swallow at night, you swallow saliva without thinking. And I would start choking and like almost choke to death. So I go to this doctor, and he scopes my vocal cord, which was pretty painful. Just stick this camera up your nose and down your throat. And this was in February after my, 3 months before I'd had the surgery. And I was supposed to come back the next week and start the pre-surgical process. But I was going to Monroe that weekend. And once I got to Monroe, it was a working retreat for the local chapter network, and I was on their leadership council. And, well, I'm not going to give it away, but when I left, I was healed. It was a medical miracle. Something that happened at Monroe healed me. And I didn't even know what it was until like 5 years later. But I don't want to give the book away. You have to read the book to find out. But, I know we started off we started off and you were talking about Eric Markham going through some things.
Yeah, he's going through a tough time.
The angels healed me, through things that happen at Monroe Institute. So anything is possible. I'm going to certainly put Eric on my list to send those angels in to help him. And we can never give up hope. The angels are here for us to help guide us through this, COVID-19 and any other kind of personal problems that we're having. They are here to help us. And they have told me that we are never alone. We may think that there's not a soul in the world that cares about us or knows about us, whatever. But there's no such thing as that, because the angels accompanied us when we came into Earth. They told me about transition teams, that transition teams come with newborn infants and they stay for several weeks. And when it's time to leave this earth, drop our physical forms, we have another transition team that will escort us out. But angels are always with us and we can rely on them. So we need to ask them for help, and they will. They'll help us.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of deep-seated fear about that journey of life and death, and to know that you're going to be okay, that you're guided there is good. Yeah. That's a good feeling.
And all it is all we're doing is dropping our physical forms, and we step into the fullness of who and what we really are. We step into our divinity. The energy from the other side is so massive, it can't really fit into the dense physical forms that we have as humans. Now, because Earth is making this transition, we're going to be able to receive more energy from before. That's why we'll have the perception that the veil is thinning, and we'll be able to notice things from the other side that we haven't before, because we're stepping closer to our true selves and closer to our divinity. But when we drop our physical forms, we'll be free. We'll be, we will step into the true nature of who we are, which is everything.
Yeah, and you know what, too, that I'm thinking now more than ever, the COVID thing seems so bad, but I've had some pretty cool experiences during COVID. Things that I didn't get, the things that I forgot about, things that I totally, walking in nature, like everybody says that, go walk in nature. And you're like, yeah, cliche, whatever. Go do it. Right? And then you really start seeing all of life is beautiful. It's a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a straight up gift. And it's one of the most amazing things on the universe, I think. And I think the universe is conspired to create a place like this so we can experience certain things, even physically. So consciousness, whatever spirit, whatever we call that, can physically experience these concepts. And that's why we keep coming back. We hear all these people like, I can't wait to get out of here, Well, yeah, I know. But when you get out, a lot of times we can't wait to come back. Despite the pain, despite the hurt, despite everything, actually enjoy it because it defines things for us. And I feel like whatever God is learning not really learning. Maybe it knows who it is, but it's discovering what it is too through us sometimes. I feel that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like this massive, all that there is, this God, this, great spirit, whatever word you want to use. This is how he or she or they can experience all that there is through us. So we are part of divinity. We are part of the way the Great Spirit can experience life. So, we play a wonderful part in this. And when we drop our physical forms, we will be back into that God's head or whatever, whatever words you want to call it. We're going to be reunited with this great love that is beyond our human capabilities. And it's going to be a divine dance. It will be a beautiful transition. And we don't do it alone. Our angels will be there. I mean, you've heard stories about people on their deathbeds and they say, they're having hallucinations. People who have died before come back. Well, no, they're not hallucinations. The angels have told me, no, this is the transition team. We come back. But because the people are in the process of transcending and transitioning, they start using their 5 physical senses differently. And they're no longer limited by only what your eyeballs can show you. They start using all their senses. And so they, become cognizant of those transition teams. So they see their brother or uncle or, aunt or grandmother because they're right there to help them transition. Plus the angels are there.
That's so cool.
We're never alone.
That's so cool. That is so cool. Actually, let's take this phone caller. We have here 540 area code. You're on the air with Candice Sanderson. Who are we speaking with?
You're speaking with Michael Joe. Candy, something happened to me. You were talking about when we pass on, we start crossing over. We have to evaluate our lives and I guess categorize it and see what did what. I actually did some of that about 2 weeks ago in a meditation by accident. And
tell me more.
Going through. Well, what happened was, it was like I was, in my head, visually watching tons of stuff I've done in life, but I'm looking through my own eyes. It wasn't like you were watching yourself. You were actually doing it and looking through my own eyes, but I was feeling all the emotions of that moment. And it also, I started feeling the connection of someone that I'd done something with, how they were feeling about it, how it connected to them. It was just like, one thing after, it was like a 2-hour meditation of doing this, but it just sort of, I did it by accident. I was just like sitting relaxing and next to my, my desk and my office chair, just, kicking back, and all of a sudden it just started flooding through. What is that about?
Sounds like one of those downloads you were talking about.
Yeah, well, what it's about is a really cool experience. That is great. Now, the angels have told me that we can go through and do our life reviews earlier, and they call this recapitulation. I looked up later, and recapitulation is part of like the shamanic tradition. I didn't know it at the time. That's another one of those things where you look up later and it's like, oh. But what you can start doing now is to actually do that life review now. Don't wait until it's time to pass, to cross over. And what you start doing is freeing up your energy. Like if you haven't let go of a situation after 90 seconds and it's still there in your energy field, once you release it, once you look at it from your perspective, look at it from another person's perspective who's in there with you, then you can bubble it up. You can just release it out of your energy field. And what happens with that is you've just now freed up your personal energy field it's become lighter, and you're able to accept more energy for your day-to-day processing. So what you did spontaneously is just perfect. And this is what I see will be happening with other people. Like all of a sudden you are in this full-blown recapitulation and you don't know how you did it. It just happened when you were meditating. That's wonderful. That's great.
I need one of those. Tell me, so you were just meditating or just kind of like plopped back in your chair and it all just came to you? Were you in a trance state or something?
Yeah, I was relaxing. I started thinking about stuff, and all of a sudden, it was like somebody just pulled on your third eye and just, yanked you in there, and here we go. It was a roller coaster ride for a while. But the one thing I did get out of it, and you're right, Candy, was I felt so much lighter and happy, and I've been this way ever since.
Perfect.
I'm just like happy all the time.
That's cool.
Perfect. So, the angels are always telling me, release that which does not serve you. Okay, release it, let it go. And as you let that go, which is what you did, literally, then you're freeing up all this personal energy for yourself. It's no longer weighing you down. Oh, yeah. That's fabulous.
Well, one of the things that happened was, I have this food is my comfort. And it's like, food is no longer I don't need it. I don't need the comfort.
I definitely need to figure this one out then, for sure.
Me too.
Yeah.
But I just look at that and it's like, I'm like, I got to do something. And I thought, you know what? I don't really need to do that. And that's been going on ever since that happened. But when it first happened, it was just, I was crying. I was just, oh man, emotions. Oof.
Wonderful.
And then when I came out of it, I just felt like, this feels good.
Well, thanks for sharing that too.
Were you actually doing a specific meditation, or were you just relaxed? I'm trying to figure out how you got there. This is so magical. I love it.
I have this place to sit in my house, and it's usually like on a Sunday afternoon. You can look out the window and see the clouds, and I just start thinking about stuff. And then all of a sudden, and it happens every once in a while. I'll just get something in. And I don't really plan it. Maybe it's nostalgia. Maybe I was thinking about a place where I worked. That might trigger it, because sometimes I miss some of the places I used to work. But it was like, poof, it was everything.
So you're just relaxed. You're looking at clouds. So you've just opened up, and this is what happened. Now, since you've done that, you can do it again. What the messengers tell me is once you've made a connection to a non-physical source, so whoever or whatever that was, you started laying down that energy pathway. You can do that again because you've done it once before. Try to just duplicate and ask for that information to flow and see what happens, because you can get there again. But the fact that you had such a wonderful experience, a very valuable experience, and because you had a lot of emotion, it shows you that it shows that was genuine and it was true. What a wonderful tool.
Yeah, we got to let you go for time reasons. That was awesome, though,
okay.
Michael. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
All right. That was cool, right? Yeah, I want to do that. Yeah. Like, hey, ice cream's comfort, food's comfort for me. If he doesn't have to do that anymore, that's pretty cool, actually.
That's great.
And see, I want to, before we get out of here too, I want to say this, like something that I've experienced and maybe something you can help me validate is especially going through these times now, we feel like when we're being pulled in the direction of spirit sometimes that it feels like kind of like chaotic and stuff. I promise you guys this, like each time you listen and go that way, even though it's almost like you're flying blind, you get rewarded in ways you'll never imagine.
Mm-hmm.
You will. I don't know how to explain that. I wish I could be more detailed about that, but sometimes they're internal rewards, things that baggage you've carried a long time. Sometimes it's abundance that comes into your life in a different way that you didn't expect. I don't know. Does that happen to you too?
Well, it's a matter of trust.
Yeah.
And like, I totally trust that whatever is working out for me, whatever my path is, I am being guided, and I have so much gratitude. And, you know, because I'm a psychologist, I'm so analytical, but I've dropped out of that now. It's like, you know what? I know I'm being guided, and things are going to unfold in the way they're meant to. So a lot of it just goes back to trust. And when you have a good heart, you try to live from your heart space, and you know that you're guided by angels, you know, you can't go wrong.
If there was a message for our audience that you feel like you could tell us, because we got a few minutes left here, like 2 or 3 from the messengers, would that be it, or is there a bigger message that you want to tell us?
You know, that is the message. Follow your heart. It will never lead you astray. Your heart is what connects you to the spirit world. It's what connects you to the angels. It's what guides you in your path during your human incarnation. Your heart is where your instincts lie. Trust what your heart says. If you're thinking, I mean, kind of a silly example. I mean, I used to, like, every once in a while misplace my keys, and it's like, oh, I can't find my keys, and because I would have to be at work an hour early, you know, and heaven forbid I'm only there 57 minutes early. And then I'd finally find my keys where they were right in front of me, and I never saw them. And I realized that was Spirit's way of saying, you don't need to leave to work on time today. You know, wait 5 minutes. You know, I've learned to trust that when little things happen, that it's part of this divine plan, because I'm trusting the guidance that the angels give me. I'm living from my heart space, and I know that I'm being guided, and I'm very thankful. So believe in the angels, trust your heart.
Where can everybody find your books, and how can they follow you online?
I am on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. My website, Candice, Candice, Sanderson.com. You can get my books on Amazon. They're in paperback, ebook, hard copy, Audible. The second book, The Reluctant Messenger Returns, will be on Audible in a couple months. That's under contract, but that's the easiest way to find it.
Love it. And you're one of the people that I always tell authors that come on here, get on Audible. And I'm so glad you're going there. That's fantastic. Thank you for coming on again.
I love Audible. I love Audible.
I love it too. I do. And thank you for coming on again, really.
Oh, and thank you, Joe, for leading me in this direction. If it weren't for you, it wouldn't be about, I wouldn't have written a book about the angels.
I have no idea what to say to that other than I was leading from my heart space, I guess.
All right, there you go. That works.
Because it feels overwhelming when you say that, but I'm very grateful that you say that, and grateful to have you on the show. And I know our audience really like to hear this message tonight. We all need this message during these times right now, for sure. So yeah, thank you. And I'll have all of the links there for the podcasters too. If you ever want to go back and listen to the show again, it'll be in the archives. All of the archives are caught up. We do got to get out of here. Again, big love, warm healing shout out to Eric Markham, the patrons, my producer, Pacho. Please don't copy the show without written permission. All you guys in the Fringe FM chat, all of you that brave in and call and talk to me, I adore y'all, actually. And we'll see you guys Monday. Have a great weekend, y'all. Good night.